second strategy that we're going to look at is making connections. And remember, the point of using these strategies is to help learners get to the active understanding zone. And through making connections, the aim is to help learners to connect with the text through making specific connections. So there are three different types of connections. The first is a prior knowledge connection, and this is where learners identify something in the information that they have previously learned or been taught. This could be from previous grades or the lesson before, it doesn't matter. The second connection is a situational connection, and here learners identify with something in the information that they can connect to a previously experienced situation, something that they have experienced themselves, that when they're reading the text they are reminded of the situation. A personal connection, and this is where learners identify something in the information that they can connect to their own personal lives. Perhaps you're reading a story and the grandmother in the story passes away, and the learner themselves can make that personal connection because their grandmother has passed away and they knew what it felt like when their granny died and how sad it was and what processes followed afterwards. So there's that personal connection. Again, there are key questions that you can ask in your classroom to try and help learners apply this strategy and to develop this thinking pattern so that learners will eventually be able to apply this strategy on their own without you prompting them. So one of the questions is, what did this remind you of? Another one, has something like this ever happened to you before? Have you seen this before? Can you think of something similar? And as you can see, all of these questions are designed to prompt learners to reflect on their own situation, their own experiences, to try and make sense of the difficult text that they are reading. An example teaching idea. Here's a brief write-up about how reptiles reproduce. Again, I'm not going to read the text to you myself. I'm going to focus more on the questions that you can ask to prompt learners to make connections with the text. The first question you can ask is, have you seen or heard about this before? So I would go about reading this information to the learners, and then again, allow them some time to read it on their own. Ask them if they have ever seen a reptile's egg or young, or if they've ever heard of this information before, and if so, where. So an example answer from one of the learners could be that last holiday, my granny took me to a crocodile farm, and the man there showed me a crocodile egg and let me hold one. So although he hasn't learned about how reptiles reproduce, he's got this past experience where he's seen a reptile and he's held the egg of a reptile, that he's going to use this personal experience and knowledge to help him understand the text. Another question is, what did this remind you of? You can ask the learners if any of this information reminds them of something. Again, remember, there's no right or wrong answer. The point of the activity is to get learners to personally reflect, to try and make a connection with the text. So an example answer from one of the learners could be, I remember when I found a mole snake in my garden and my dad let me keep it. The next week when I checked on the snake, it had given birth to 32 live babies. So although the text might not be centered around a mole snake, the learner is using his experience of this mole snake to make sense and decode the information he is reading. So you can see how powerful these strategies are, and they really help the learners to strive to work in and read in that active understanding zone.